Alright, it seems like you guys can already see me. I'm just making some time waiting for some people to show up, because today's point is to review Breakthrough, or Breakpoint, sorry. And I thought it would be funnier if we did it together. Just writing down. Okay, so I'm just making time. This will go onto my normal channel archive, so to speak, so you guys can check out this video later. I'll probably add a link in the video so that you can jump straight into the analysis of the review, the proper review, I mean. I'm going to be using Pokebeach to check out the card translations and the images sometimes. So big shout out to Pokebeach. Love the content. It's pretty awesome website. I have nothing to do with them. I'm not affiliated with Pokebeach at all. It's just a pretty nice tool, I think. Just trying to see if someone else joins in before we start. There's someone here. Just 5 creative kids. Is that you? Two people, okay. We are going to start in a minute. I'm just kind of making some time, waiting for people to show up. In the meantime, I think I'm going to play some music, and it's going to be... Oh, the last time I streamed, actually, I had music going, and then my video got blocked on YouTube. So this time I won't fall in the same mistake. So I will play some music that I know I can play. This is from a band of some friends of mine, so okay, I think I'll start looking into the deck, and you guys can join in as we go, I guess. So, okay, let's see. So we start off the set with some not great Pokemon, Chikorita and Meganium line, basically. This guy has an ability called Overgrown. If this Pokemon's remaining HP is 50 or less, this Pokemon's attacks do 70 more damage. I mean, that's strong, but it's a grass type, right? So we can evolve it using the Forest of Giant Plants, but it's still a stage 2. Green Force, it's still an expensive attack for 5 energy. I mean, it can do 120 and you heal damage, so you heal 120, but it's still a stage 2, so it's really hard to assemble, and then your opponent can even knock you out in a single hit, so I don't think this is great. We have a C-Dot line, which... Or actually not the line, we just have the C-Dot. Okay, so we have 4 people in here. Okay, nice. How are you guys? Say hello as you join in, please. So Kricketot also sucks. Bug Sense. You search your deck for 3 Pokemon. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Shiftry and the Nuzleaf are dark. Yeah, nice point, Joe. Thank you. I've actually seen them. Yeah, I remember that. But there's been some kind of weird stuff going on in the previous expansions. For example, I think we have like a Froakie and a Frogadier in the last expansion, and no Greninja, which was kind of weird. I don't know if they are going to do that again this time. Like having incomplete lines in there, it's kind of bugs me a little bit that they did that. But yeah, we're starting off pretty slow here. Nothing really too important to be said about these guys. I think this Lilligant is kind of interesting because Whimper is a really annoying attack. 20 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, if he or she attaches an energy card to the defending Pokemon from his or her hand, the defending Pokemon becomes asleep. So this basically means that the opponent cannot drop an energy on the guy he's intending to attack with unless he has some kind of switch or stuff like that. So he might as well just start filling up the bench. So that's kind of interesting and annoying. I don't really know what to do of it. I don't think it's a good attack or a good card at all, but it's just something interesting. I think the first moderately good Pokemon in here is the Durant here. So it's a grass type this time, but it's still about milling. The first attack for a grass energy. Mountain Gnaw, the stand damage, and you discard the top card of your opponent's deck. It's funny that it's milling mixed with damage. I don't think we see that often. And then Grind Down, it's where it's at, right? I mean, for 2 energy, if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. I think it's really easy to put damage on this guy with Rainbow Energy and with Team Magma's Secret Hideout, or whatever that thing is called. You put the Pokemon down and you immediately have damage counters on it. So that's a way that you can go, but I don't really think this is going to see a lot of play. I mean, it's still 2 energy. It's not that it's too hard, to charge, but I don't know. If you remember the Rant deck from the expanded format, the one that is metal type, you can bring it back with the revives and stuff like that, and then just immediately drop an energy on it. So it's a little bit better, I think. Plus, you can't really play the 2 together. You have to kind of choose between the 2. Or maybe you can play a mix. I don't know. Let's move on. I don't think there's really too much to be said about most non-EX, non-break Pokemon, which is kind of a shame. But the set is good, mainly because there's a lot of EX Pokemon in there. There's like 10 EX Pokemon. And the first one that we see here is Emboar EX. I think this guy falls a little short. So Spiral Punch is kind of a terrible attack, so you flip until you get Tails and it's 20 damage. I think we even saw this doing more damage than this guy, and on a non-EX Pokemon if I remember, so not the greatest. Strong Flare does 150, discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon, so for just the discard of 2 fire energy you deal 150, which is more damage than what Camerupt does currently. The problem is that Camerupt doesn't have a damage cap. So although you discard more energy, you're actually able to deal 200 damage. And this guy at most does 170, so with a Muscle Band, which doesn't even kill, or isn't even guaranteed to kill, all the EX Pokemon there are. So kind of lame in that regard. I don't think this guy is going to see a lot of play. Maybe he has one of... Actually, it kind of replaces Charizard really well, right? In... what's the name of the guy? The Entei. Yeah, in Entei decks, you can kind of replace Charizard because Strong Flare also does 150 damage. The thing is, with Charizard, you spend a turn without being able to attack, and this guy, you discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. I think I still like Charizard a little bit better, although discarding 2 energy isn't that bad in that deck because you have a lot of Blacksmith. I don't know, maybe in that deck you can play one of these guys, but I don't really see a lot of play. Yeah, Rixer, Aldair. Aldair. Is that Aldair or Aldair? Yeah, it's a worse Charizard, basically, I think. Okay, we come to our first break. It's Golduck. It actually has a super awesome ability. Hyper Trance is insane. as often as you like during your turn before you attack, you may move a basic energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. So this is like Aromatisse on steroids, because you can move any type of energy. The attacks on this guy aren't the most useful. I mean, I'm looking at Golduck, because that's basically the guy that's going to attack with Overturn and Either Splash, which are passable attacks. But yeah, the ability is the focus here, and yeah, it's better than Aromatisse's ability, but at the same time, it's way harder than Aromatisse is to assemble. I mean, it's a break. It's like a stage 2 that you can't use Rare Candy for. So yeah, I'm not really seeing Golduck working, but mostly because the format is so speedy right now. Is it worth buying a booster box? The Pokemeta asks. I think it is. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. We'll list the good cards in the end, right? We'll just make a list of all the good cards there are. And I think this is definitely a set. It kind of reminds me, maybe not as good as Phantom Forces, but I think it's on par with some sort of, I don't know, Furious Fists maybe, because there's some interesting EXs and there's a lot of very good support for some decks. And we'll get to that in a second. A lot of very good uncommons. Yeah, the Golduck, I think, yeah, playing it with Arches, it's still a hassle. I mean, honestly, I think the best Arches and Maxis decks are ones where you really can just go all in and just discard a lot of stuff and build your Arches or Maxis really nicely and really easily. I mean, in Expanded it's a little bit easier because of Jirachi, but in Standard I really like to play focus decks in that regard, and just the fact that you have to play a break there that you can't really do anything with. You can't Arches for the break, you have to go with the Golduck and then put the Golduck on the the break on the Golduck, so I don't think that's great. Okay, so let's move on. Slowbro, I mean, the attack is interesting, but it's not good. I mean, when you use this attack, if you have one prize card remaining, you win the game. You know what else does that? Pretty much everything that attacks for 3 energy, and it's not a stage 1. So yeah, but don't get me wrong, it's an interesting attack. I kind of like it. I'm going to play this maybe in the pre-release if I get it, because it's a colorless attacker, but it's pretty useless in when you're not in the last prize remaining. So yeah, so maybe it's not even that good in the pre-release. I don't know. Slowking has an interesting ability also. King's Inspiration. Once during your turn before you attack, you may flip a coin. If had, choose an energy attached to your opponent's active and move it to one of his bench or her benched Pokemon. So this is really annoying. But building a stage 2 for the chance that you might do this, I don't think that's great. First of all, the ability is kind of situational in that is not great in every single board state, and you still have to flip a coin and build a stage 2. So yeah, not great. Still moving on, and then we get to all of these guys are kind of garbagey. So once again, this set is kind of cool because there's a million EXs, and the non-EX, non-break Pokemon are just rubbish. Gyarados EX, let's see what you guys are saying over here. Show this Shiftry deck. Yeah, we'll get to Shiftry in a second. Gyarados EX, Wet Weather. You flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, you search your deck for a water energy. That kind of feels okay. I mean, you only have a 50% chance of getting 0 energy, and then you have a 50% chance of getting at least 1, and then it goes downhill from there. But you already got 1, so let's assume that you get 1. Yeah, half of the time. So that's kind of decent. In the following turn you can just drop a DCE and use the second attack, but I think this guy is here just for the Mega. One thing that's interesting to say about this guy is that the second attack does 10 damage to each of your bench Pokemon, so you can actually use the Gyarados EX in a Gyarados deck in that you have the Magikarps on your bench and you deal damage to them. That's kind of funny to me. I don't think that's good at all. I just think it's funny. Mega Gyarados EX, I think this is kind of like a bad Groudon EX or Mega Groudon EX. It's an attack for 4 energy. This time it's colorless energy, but really, if we're going to be honest, you want to have water energy because this attack does 20 more damage for each water attached to this Pokemon. You discard the top 2 cards of your deck, but you can assume those cards are negligible most of the time, so let's just forget about them. So 120, you need to have at least 3 energy on it to deal 180. So the 4th energy could be colorless, but yeah, let's just assume they are all going to be water. So this is kind of like a worse Groudon in my opinion. It doesn't have the Omega thingy that Groudon had. What's the name of it? Omega Barrier, that protected it from items. And it actually has a worse weakness than Groudon, if you can believe it. This guy is weak to Lightning, which is just terrible. I mean, can you imagine this guy fighting Manectric? It's not good. Let's keep it at that. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, Joe, it's kind of like Roaring Skies. There are some good cards, but actually it's not like Roaring Skies, because Roaring Skies, the Shaymin, was like a very hard card to come by because it's rare. And in this set, actually the best cards I think are the uncommons. So I kind of compare it more to Furious Fists in that regard, where there's all the fighting support, you know. That was so good at the time. Lapras allows you to search for a trainer. Not that great either, so let's just move on. Corsola is going to be my way in the pre-release. I keep thinking about the pre-release because I see all these colorless basic attackers, and that's really nice to have in those decks, so that you guys can win more packs in your pre-release. There's Suicune in here. Ability, Wind Protection. I don't think this ability is anything special. As long as this Pokemon is your active, prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks except damage done to each of your Pokemon. You're basically protecting from special conditions and stuff like that, but I don't think there's... Am I missing something? Is there anything worth protecting? I can't really think of anything. I mean... Done to each of your Pokemon, like the opponent is doing anything to your other Pokemon other than damage to the benched Pokemon. You can't even put special conditions on them. Maybe something like switching them around or stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't think that's really played, so I'd be really surprised if Suicune was played. I mean, it's a nice thing to have. Maybe in the future something comes out where Suicune just becomes bonkers, but as it is, I don't think this is good. So... Palkia EX, now we're talking. This is, so far, definitely the best card that we've seen. I actually think this is probably one of the best cards in the set, if not the best. I think this Palkia EX totally opens up a very good deck, possibly tier 1, definitely tier 2, I think. Of course, I'm basing my judgment on basically my 1.5 years of experience playing this game, but I think this card is really strong. I mean, Aqua Turbo is a little bit like Emerald Slash from Virizion EX. It does 10 less damage, and you search your deck for 2 energy of the appropriate type and attach them to your bench. It's also a little bit costlier because it's not a water and a colorless, it's 2 water. And it doesn't have the ability that Virizion have. On the other hand, this guy actually has a second attack, which is not irrelevant. So per a Hurricane, it might seem too costly. I mean, 4 water energy to deal 120 damage, and you choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and this attack does 30 damage to it. So it seems kind of expensive. It is powerful, 120 plus 30. But I really think this attack is good because what deck are you playing Palkia EX with? Probably something like Gyarados? No, I'm just kidding. I think the best water Pokemon, the best attacker to pair with Palkia is the Kyogre EX, right? So if you have Kyogre and you evolve Kyogre and you can charge him up really nicely with Palkia and the alpha thingy on alpha growth on Kyogre that allows you to just play 2 energy on the same turn, you're going to be building Kyogres really consistently and really easily, and then Kyogre moves 2 energy around, if I remember correctly. So you're actually going to attack with Palkia, retreat into Kyogre, attack with Kyogre, and then move the energy back to Palkia, and then you can finish off those guys with 120 damage and then 30 damage to the bench, stuff like that. So you can pull a lot of good tricks with this deck. And yeah, I definitely think this is a strong... At least we have to try it out, right? It definitely seems like it's going to be really cool. Hey, random person 71, what's up? And another reason that I think the water deck is going to be fine is the Manaphy EX. That's here. So 2 EXs in a row and 2 very good EXs. So this guy is basically here for the ability, right? Each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached to it has no retreat cost. That's really, really good in the deck that I just described, because once again, we're attacking with Palkia, charging up our Kyogre, and then we can retreat for free. That's pretty bonkers. We have Mineral Pump. The 60 damage heals 30 from each of your bench Pokemon. I don't think this attack is really good, but maybe if you're playing against bats, it might be. I don't know. We kind of have to try it out, but maybe it's just insane paired with Rough Seas. I mean, you heal a lot of damage. It doesn't heal itself, so you're kind of exposing a 120 HP EX. But I think, I don't know, man. I think the stats are there, right? There has to be something with these water Pokemons. We have Dive Ball in the format as well. They definitely look nice, so I'm definitely going to be trying out Palkia with Manaphy and with Kyogre and Mega Kyogre. Yeah, we're saying that Gyarados is worse than Kyogre. As I mentioned, Gyarados for me is like a worse. It's like a worse reprint of Groudon EX, and Groudon is seeing no play, and it dodges all the energy removal and all the items that your opponent plays targeting him, and Gyarados dodges nothing and just straight up has a worse weakness than Groudon. So terrible. Mega Gyarados is like Keldeo with drawbacks, so it's hard to say. Not really, because Keldeo starts off at 3 energy, and you don't have to evolve it. And Keldeo, you generally play it with Blastoise. And can you imagine playing a Mega? Have you ever played the Blastoise deck before, where you Arches? Can you imagine playing a Mega there? There's so many hands where you just start off the game and you can't pull the Arches, and you just straight up lose to yourself. And imagine doing that with a Mega and Spirit Links in there. I don't think that's good at all. You guys are free to try it out, of course. This is totally my own opinions, but I think that's just terrible. I don't see Gyarados being played in any format so far, unless something else gets printed or something that I'm missing, but I'd be really surprised. I don't think it's a good Mega. Okay, we have some very good Pokemon in here. Or at least something that kind of makes us want to play a deck here. With Froakie, Frogadiers, Greninjas, and Greninja Break. It's stage 3 once again. If you guys saw my... what's the name of the grass type that I played that was also stage 3? The Chestnut. Yeah, Chestnut kind of sucked, and we had to play a very thick line, and that's what happens when you play thick lines of cards. Kind of think that this guy might fall in the same with the same problem. We do have Arches, but once again we have Arches in a deck that has a lot of sequential cards, which means that you can't just put a Greninja down. You kind of have to Arches for it and then go evolve into the break. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sold. But there's some cool stuff to be said about this guy. So first of all, Frogadier has a very interesting attack. You basically search your deck for 3 Frogadiers and put them into your bench. So you immediately fill up your bench with stage 1s. That's pretty cool. It kind of means that maybe we will see some very weird lines with 2 or 3 basics and then 4 of the stage 1s. That's kind of exciting in that it's different. I like those kind of shenanigans. Greninja, I think this Greninja is pretty close to the one that we have in X and Y. I don't know which one the deck would prefer. So let's analyze them. So the X and Y one, if you guys remember, does 50 damage with the water energy, and you can discard the water energy from your hand to deal 30 damage. If you evolve into the Greninja break, you can actually use both abilities on the same turn. You can discard 2 energy and deal 60 from the break and 30 from the EX Greninja. So that's pretty cool. This one doesn't have that thing, but it actually does damage that's comparable. So Gecko Slash does 60 damage. You move a water energy back to your hand and it's 20 more damage. So the other Greninja does 50 on the attack plus 30, that's 80, and this is 80 also, and you retain more energy. The problem is you don't deal the damage where you want, you only deal to the active Pokemon. So maybe this guy is better, maybe the other guy is better, just because you can sneak up on the bench and snipe some damage around. But yeah, I don't know which one the deck would prefer. I think I'm inclined to think that the X and Y is a little bit better, just because it's more the deck would be more focused. So it's every Pokemon is doing what you want, which is damage to the bench. But yeah, I think both of them are interesting. This one also has a very good first attack. I shouldn't forget this. It does 40 damage. It's not written over here, but if you guys see this thing, this guy is 40 damage in there. And until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon he or she has in play in his or her hand and his or this discard pile has no abilities, including Pokemon newly brought into play. So that's really cool. You ability lock your opponent for a turn and deal 40 damage. So sometimes that's going to be the attack that you're using while you're dealing the damage. That's if you have the break and you discard the energy, that's 100 damage in a single turn. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to try to make this work, although I'm a little bit skeptical just because I think the numbers are going to be pretty clunky. We're going to play a very, very thick line. I don't like breaks that evolve from stage shoes, honestly. I'm not a fan. That's why I got so upset when people chose Crobat, the Japanese play. Oh, that's for another time, I think. Let's see what you guys are saying. No, we haven't talked about Scizor. We're going in order. A random person, 71. We're going in order, so we're just... Scizor is coming. It'd be hard to Archie since you want multiple outs and Archie's... yeah, Joe, exactly my thoughts on it. You kind of have... yeah, you want two Archies, but at the same time you kind of want to evolve from the Frogadier so that you have a lot of them on the bench at the same time. So I'm not totally sold. Electabuzz, this guy is irrelevant, I guess. Let's just take a minute to appreciate how bad this Luxray break is. I think this is the worst break yet. Seriously, I think this guy is worse than Chestnut. Jesus Christ, look at this. 170. So it's EX. It's on EX level, but it's a stage 3. It's not grass type, so you can't even use shenanigans. It's not water or fighting, so you can't Archies or whatever. No way to redeem this guy. Seriously, it's just you straight up have to play a stage 3, and the attack. Look at it: 2 lightning, a double colorless, 130. You flip until you get tail. So for each head, this attack does 40 more damage. Let's assume that we hit the first one. It's 170. So all this work, and we're not even guaranteed to knock out an EX Pokemon. I guess with a Muscle Band we are, but we still have to flip for a 50% chance of getting heads or for getting the knockout. So Jesus Christ, what the hell are they thinking with these breaks? I mean, how can a break be worse than an EX Pokemon? It's more work. I know we draw less prizes, but the amount of work that we have to do to put this guy into play, it's just insane, man. I think this guy is the worst break yet. Yeah, and that's saying a lot because there have been a lot of very, very, very bad breaks. Doesn't even matter what the other guys do. I mean, if the other guys were good, I think we would build the deck with them and not play the break at all, because even the damage, the 30 extra damage, are not enough to play this guy. I think it's... yeah, Raichu... Jesus Christ, this is just... I'm lost for words. It's just incredible how they print such cards. And these are the rare cards, so you open this guy and you'd rather open a foil common Pokemon that you would actually play, I think. Hey, 8-Bit Donut, how's it going? Ethan, we are moving on from that rant. Sorry about that, guys, but I just think that Pokemon is... it annoys me how bad that thing is. I mean, I think break Pokemon should be better, just because it's so much work to get him into play that... okay, we have a Zebstrika that I think is pretty cool, in that it has an interesting attack. As long as this Pokemon is in play, damage to your lightning Pokemon's attacks isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it kind of turns all your attacks into unavoidable attacks, like G-Boost or something like that, but at the same time it's a stage 1. So maybe your deck really needs this. So maybe your Manectric deck is in... I don't know. I don't really know what the opponent can be playing that makes your electric Pokemon not hit properly. But it's definitely an interesting Pokemon. Maybe something in the future makes this playable, but as it stands, I don't think it is. The attack is kind of funny. It deals 50 damage, and if the opponent's active Pokemon has a fighting resistance, so we're talking about a bird Pokemon, this attack does 60 more damage. And we can assume, I think, that we're going to double that damage, so it basically knocks out in one hit bird Pokemon. Maybe that's something that we want, but I kind of feel like this attack is useful in decks where this ability is not, because this attack attacks you. Because this is a colorless attack, and this is a lightning type Pokemon. Kind of feels like we want to play it against just to hit for weakness, and in electric decks we don't really need to hit for weakness, so the attack is kind of not great. We would just need it for the ability, maybe. I don't know. Interesting Pokemon, nevertheless. You're behind on the meta. I mean, it's been the kind of the same and jumping around a little bit for the last couple of weeks, I think. So there's really not much to be said, but we're kind of trying to predict what it's going to look like after this new set comes out. I think we can just talk about that in the end of the card by card thing. So there's a Hypno in here. Good Night Baby, best attack name ever. Once during your turn before you attack, you may use this ability. Both active Pokemon are now asleep. This guy combines really nicely with a Darkrai EX that we're going to see in a moment. But we kind of need some sort of shenanigans to avoid the sleep. I guess if we're playing Darkrai, we're probably also playing Zoroark, so we can rush in, retreat, and avoid the sleep on our own guy, and just hit for 1,000,000 damage with the Darkrai. So maybe that's something. Espeon EX, I think this is a very curious card. I don't really see where we play it yet, but I do think it's interesting, and maybe. So let's look into it. So Miracle Shine for a colorless. Devolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and put the highest stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. So funny thing about this thing is that it hits all of your opponent's Pokemon, so it devolves all of them. If you pair this guy with, I don't know, a couple of Starling Megaphones, and your opponent is playing a Mega deck, he's going to have a little bit of trouble because he has to find the Spirit Links again, or else he evolves and loses the turn. So I think that's going to be a cool attack in that regard. And then we also have the situation where the opponent already has a lot of damage on it, and you de-evolve, and that's enough to kill the de-evolved Pokemon. So that's also something to keep in mind. And then Psycho Shock, the 70 damage. It's easy to power up this attack. I mean, it's a Psychic and a double color, so it's not out of the imagination. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. I wonder if this is not affected by weakness, because if it isn't, this kind of sucks. I mean, unless you really need something that hits, I don't know. Maybe it's good, maybe it's a niche attacker that we really need one of in our Mewtwo decks or something, just to get rid of Pokemon that we couldn't hit otherwise. Like this ignores Regice's effect and all that, so yeah, maybe the Psycho Shock is also good. But Miracle Shine, I think, very curious attack. What are you guys saying? The ability name is terrifying if you read Hypno's lore. Oh, does it have anything to do with actual babies? I don't want to know. There is a new stadium that he'll sleep to. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. We'll get to that in a second with the stadium. Yeah, Rip Magazine. Oh yeah, we can actually pair this guy with Archies. I haven't thought of that. So we Archies, and if the opponent already evolved, we can Espeon. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. That's the reason why I wanted to do this thing with you guys. So I want to pull all your. I want to pick your minds, and let's see if we together can come up with something that's broken or something like that. He hits the dreams of children. Okay. Exodia Slowbro. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference, right? I know Exodia is a Yu-Gi-Oh reference, but I don't know what it does. So yeah, Hypno is a creepy guy. I was going to use another word, but that's not proper for a family-friendly channel like this one. Drapion, is this thing good? 70 damage? No, it's not good. Okay. Sigilyph. Sigilifs are usually decent. Reflective Shield during your opponent's next turn. If this Pokemon takes any damage from an attack, put 5 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Huh. That's interesting, I guess, because it's for a colorless, but I don't know. I'm not sold. Psychic Report. 30 damage, your opponent reveals his or her hand. I can't tell you how many times I wish there was a Pokemon that just with basic with an ability that said your opponent reveals his or her hand, but on an attack I don't think it's worth it. Plus it's a 30 damage attack that you have to power up with a couple of psychic energy. I don't think this is good at all. There's a Trubbish, which basically means that we are going to evolve into Garbodor, and Garbodor I'm really happy because Garbotoxin is pretty cool. Once again we have Garbodor with Garbotoxin, but I have another rant, and that is, why couldn't they have reprinted the Garbodor that we already have? Now they're just making us buy more cards just to get this other Garbodor, and it's basically the same as the other one. The only thing that changes is the attack, but no one was attacking with Garbodor at all. Oh man, they're just making us spend more money. I mean, why can't we have something nice from time to time and just be able to play with our reprinted Pokemon? That would be... Miracle Shine will work on Archie Max's Pokemon. I don't know what Miracle Shine is. Oh, you mean using Miracle Shine to bounce Archies? No, I don't think that works, because I don't think they are evolved Pokemon, you know. It should. I don't know, man. I'm not 100% positive, you know. Evolved Pokemon. It's not stage 1, it's not stage 2, it's evolved Pokemon, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I kind of have to make sure of that. If it works, that's bonkers. It's just, this card is just insane, pretty much. Just the ability to get the Blastoises and all that back to your opponent's hand is just definitely playable, and it's color, so it will be playable in all decks. I'm not sure about that, but I still think it's mildly useful if it doesn't. So when you talked about Archies, I was thinking you meant using it like you have an Archies into play and you use this guy to de-evolve your opponent's Pokemon, and then he can't evolve them anymore. Yeah, there's a secret rare Garbodor that we cannot use because this guy is not a reprint. That's, oh man, that's so annoying. Oh, Pokemon Company, what are you thinking? Meowstic. Energy gift. Choose 2 energy cards from your hand and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon. So, problems with this guy is it's a stage 1. It does accelerate energy, and it's for colorless, so that's kind of cool, but the energy has to come from your hand, and that's not cool. So it's kind of cool in one hand and not on the other. Definitely going to play it in the pre-release if I get it, because this type of effect is just bonkers. So abilities that or attacks that let you cheat and draw extra cards or accelerate extra energy or get stuff from your deck into your hand are really good in the pre-release. I'm still giving you guys tips for the pre-release. I don't know if you want them, but I love to go and play the pre-release and win extra packs, especially when the set comes out, because I get extra codes to use online and just get all the cards for my videos that way. So Roaring Skies, we didn't get the pre-release on time, and that sucked big time because I was really struggling to get the packs to make the videos. Luckily, our friend 8-Bit Donut over here donated some packs and helped me find my last Shaymin EX. Oof. So let's move on. Sorry about that. Aegislash, I don't think this guy is any good. You place damage counters in each of your opponent's Pokemon equal to the number of damage counters already on them. The previous stage, so Dull Blade puts damage counters, so it kind of combines with itself, and then Megaton Slash 100 damage. Choose 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. This attack does 10 damage to each of them. That's not great. I mean, 4 energy, 100 damage on a stage 2. This is not great. Not great at all. There's a Skrelp, so there's a Dragalge, but it's a Dragon type, so we'll get to that in a second. Phantom, finally a basic common Pokemon that I'm excited about. Ascension. I think this Phantom is basically going to replace the other one, just because Ascension is a better attack. You search your deck for a card that evolves from Phantom and put it onto Phantom. So if you're going second, you're basically, if you have an energy in hand, you're basically 100% guaranteed to evolve into your Trevenant. And there's actually two very relevant Trevenants to be played. One of them is the one from X and Y, the one that item locks your opponent. So it's one-sided item lock, which is also bonkers. Always bonkers. I mean, way better than Vileplume's item lock, just because you can still play your items, so you can play like a normal deck with VS Seekers and stuff like that. But yeah, the opponent can Lysander out something else and get rid of the item lock that way, but it's still hard for them with just two Lysanders in most decks and the ability and no ability to play the VS Seekers and stuff like that. So yeah, Trevenant is of course nice, and this other Trevenant is also really nice. It's a little bit different. It has an ability called Seed of Anxiety. If this Pokemon is your active, your opponent's basic Pokemon attacks cost colorless more. Of course, we're all seeing a deck with Head Ringers and this guy's ability to make your opponent not able to attack at all, and then some hammers, enhanced hammers, crushing hammers, stuff like that. Energy Press, it attacks for basically the same energy as the other Trevenant, which is cool. I actually like this attack a little bit more. It does 70 damage, and this attack does 10 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So there's kind of like a synergy going on with the ability and the attack, because it kind of forces your opponent to play more energy to be able to attack. But what I think is going to happen is your opponent is not going to put energy on the active. It's just going to try to fill up some Pokemon on the bench, charge him up really nicely, and then just knock out your Trevenant in a single hit. So maybe the other Trevenant is still better just because it item locks. I don't know about that. Sorry if I stop from time to time because I'm reading the chat. There's a Trevenant break. It does have 160 HP, so it's 50 more HP than the Trevenants. I think both of them. I think the other one also has 110. And the Silent Fear attack, I don't think it's too good. You place 3 damage counters in each of your opponent's Pokemon. I think it combines way better with the other Trevenant because the other guy also hits for weakness. Also hits the bench. Also snipes some damage around. 2 damage counters on 2 different Pokemon, if I remember correctly, or 20 damage on 2 different Pokemon. Sometimes maybe we want to hit damage on the bench and then at some point use Silent Fear to just do the final amount of damage. Maybe that's something nice. I don't really know. But maybe it's worth it to play this guy just for the HP because it's 50 HP more. That's a lot, right? I don't know. I'm still not totally sold on Trevenant Break, but I think the stage 1 is good, and I think the Phantom is really nice. Yeah, maybe one copy in Kevin. I don't know. Just for the HP, basically. Maybe the attack is really good sometimes, and I'm missing something, but I don't think it's anything special. Okay, Sudowoodo. This is also a very interesting Pokemon. This Let's Imitate. So this is a fighting type, so we can use all sorts of fighting stuff in here. We can use Korrina, we can use the Fighting Stadium, we can use the Fighting Energy. Not the Fighting Energy, the Strong Energy. If your opponent uses a Pokemon's attack during his or her last turn, use that attack as this attack. So we kind of hit our opponent's back with the same attack that you used, but hopefully we'll have some sort of enhancement on Sudowoodo so that we can actually kill them, and kill them good. This guy hits... What does this do? That's bonkers. Let's see. If we're playing a deck with fighting types, so maybe Lucario Bats. I don't think this is going to be great in Lucario Bats. I don't think it's better than any of our guys. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's better than a Lucha. I mean, it needs 2 energy. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be awesome, but it is interesting. I'll give you that. Gible, Gabite, nothing to write home about, but Garchomp is actually pretty strong. Yeah, a good counter to Manectric, but you do need the fighting energy anyways, so you're kind of also already playing a fighting deck. So, I don't know. I'm not sold. I mean, if a Pokemon attacks with fighting energy, you can't really say it's a counter, right? Yeah, I know you're talking about Sudowoodo. I just mean, if you need the fighting energy, you're already playing a fighting deck, so you don't really need a counter to Manectric, right? Your Pokemon are already hitting for weakness and hitting for a lot of damage, so I don't know. You can confirm that Espeon doesn't take Archies and Maxis off board. Okay. That's nice to know. I guess it's a lot worse, but it's still potentially playable. So I don't know. Garchomp, as I was saying, Assault Turbo, 60 damage, choose one energy card in your discard pile and attach it to one of your Pokemon. That's pretty good. It accelerates energy onto your guys, so it's kind of like Shout of Power from the Landorus. And it's one energy card. Huh. Is this well translated? Because if it is, this is a really, really strong attack. You can accelerate DCE. Is that right? You can accelerate strong energy to one of your Pokemon, so it can even be to Pokemon. Your active can even attach to itself. Oh, baby. I like this guy. I hope this attack is... I hope this translation is correct. Really. This seems... Hey Meridian, how's it going? Yeah. Sudowoodo with Rainbow Energy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think there's potentially better Pokemon that you could be playing in that strategy. I don't know. But yeah, once again, Garchomp seems really nice. And we haven't even gone past the first attack. Biting Pledge, 80 plus. If your opponent's active is an EX, this attack does 80 more damage, so 160 plus strong energy, plus muscle bands, plus all of that. This guy kills EXs for sure. I think Garchomp is really strong. If this thing is... If the first attack, once again, if this is not a translation error, this is just bonkers. There's two things in this attack that I love. The first thing is one energy card, so it means any energy, and one of your Pokemon means any Pokemon, so you can actually accelerate energy onto itself. And the fact that this guy is a fighting type, that we can actually Archies into play, makes me really hyped for this Pokemon. Yeah, it seems so. I wouldn't know if I would play it in Night March, but because in itself it's already a very good Pokemon, so maybe we can forget all the clunky stuff and just build a dedicated Garchomp deck with 4 of this guy, or 3 at least, and then the Maxis to bring it into play, and all sorts of stuff that play well with a discard pile. I think we can do better than play this in a Night March deck. But maybe that's enough, maybe that's good enough. I mean, 60 damage, recharge one of your Night Marchers, I don't know. Yeah, you can tech it, definitely. I just feel like I want to build like a dedicated deck, you know. Okay, let's move on. Really good card, this Garchomp. Oh, there's the Shiftry and the Nuzleaf. I think if we're playing the Shiftry, we're probably playing the other Nuzleaf, the one that's grass type, so that we can evolve in the sim turn. Once again, like we did in Expanded. But this Shiftry, it's actually a very interesting Pokemon, because blow away, you flip 3 coins, and if they are heads, you look at your opponent's hand, then discard the number of cards from your opponent's hand equal to the number of heads. So it's a flippy thing, you have to flip, which isn't great. If we stick the... what's the name of the tool? The 3 coin, you can flip again, so you have more than... you potentially discard more than 1.5 cards on average, which is good, and it's discard, so they don't shuffle back into the deck or anything. They just, you get rid of them out of the opponent's hand into the discard pile, and that's something that we don't see a lot in Pokemon. We see that all the time in Magic the Gathering, for example, and in Pokemon there's not a lot of discard. And once again, you're looking at your opponent's hand, so that's super strong. So you actually choose the cards that you're discarding. I think Shiftry is very interesting in that regard. The attack is not great, but just because it does so little damage, it does 60, and you choose a trainer card from your discard pile and you show it to your opponent and you put it into your hand, so that's cool. But the damage output, it's not great, so I kind of see this guy as you speed it up into play, you get rid of your opponent's hand, and then you start dealing damage. But the problem with that is your opponent might just draw Sycamore and get out of the sort of soft lock, let's call it that. But yeah, we can definitely soft lock our opponent by getting rid of the cards from his hand. So yeah, I can see Shiftry being played. I don't really know what to pair it with. I'm thinking Vileplume, but Vileplume is also a stage 2, so I don't think that works too well, but it does work with the stadium, so I don't know. I think Shiftry is definitely going to try it out. Definitely on my radar, on my watch list, just because the ability to choose the cards that your opponent discards seems really nice, especially in a disruptive deck with a lot of hammers and stuff like that. Seems nice. I did cover the water types. My opinion on Slowking is that I think the ability is interesting, but it doesn't work on all board states 100% well. Does that make sense? The sentence? I don't know. And even if it did, you still have to flip a coin. So I don't know if it's worth it to build a stage 2 just for that. Maybe if you Archie's the guy into play, but it's still a flip, and it still doesn't work. It's still not the thing you want to be doing in every board state. So I don't know. Maybe it is because there's so much shame in. Maybe there's always a good target for the energy, but your opponent can play around if he knows you're playing it. So I don't know. Slowking is a stage 1. Is it? Slowpoke, Slowbro, Slowking. Yeah, but Slowpoke evolves from what? No. What is it? Okay, let's. Sorry. I thought it was a stage 2. I thought it evolved from the Slowbro, right? I mean... Oh, it is a stage 1. Huh. Oh my god, I didn't know this. Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Sorry. Okay, so this is a stage 1, yeah. Seems a lot better. I have to tell you that. Maybe this guy is worth it. Yeah. I really like it as a stage 1, actually. Definitely going to try this out. It's just because it's disruptive and you can do this every single turn, so maybe if you fail once or twice you can, like, just a 2-2 line of this guy seems nice. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I totally changed my opinion on Slowking. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was a stage 1. I always thought that Slowking evolved from Slowbro. Don't know why, but yeah, I always did. I don't know. I guess I should pay more attention to my Pokemon. All I know about the video games is how to. I haven't told you guys. Recently I've been trying to speedrun. I've been learning how to speedrun the first generation Pokemon games, and that's basically all I know about the video games, or most of what I know about the video games. I'm a Generation 1, Generation 2 guy. I'm just talking while I scroll. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a split evolution. Didn't know that. Yeah. That I do recall that from Generation 2, right? Yeah, I do speak Portuguese, but I'm not going to because there's more people watching that also don't speak Portuguese. So, and most of my audience is from the United States, weirdly. So, or not weirdly at all, because I can pair Slowking with evolutions. Yeah, but the thing is, we're not really using it for the attack, right? We want to keep it into our bench, so that we just use the ability over and over again and just disrupt our opponent. Just move the energy around into the Shaman and all that. So Psy-Up, I mean, it does 40 damage and the next turn it does 80, but I don't think you want to attack with this guy. It's only 100 HP, so yeah. I like it as a stage 1 that you can put into your bench just to disrupt your opponent. I think that's nice. As a stage 1, I think it's a fine card. Sure, Takeaway Gaming, shout out to you. Good luck having building a channel. It's hard work, I have to tell you that. Not that I've been putting a lot of hard work into my channel, but once again, guys, I'm trying to get to qualify for Worlds. So that's kind of a goal that I have in mind, and I don't have as much time for the channel as I'd like, just to record videos and stuff like that. But okay, let's proceed. Darkrai EX, I really love this Pokemon. Really love this card. One of my favorites from the set, for sure. I definitely see this guy seeing some play in the expanded deck, in the expanded Darkness decks. They weren't maxing out on Darkrai anyway, so we can play both Darkrai EXs. This guy does, for the DCE, does 20 damage. plus 20 more damage for each darkness energy attached to all of our Pokemon. So it combines really well with Dark Patch in that format. And it's also a very good attacker in both of them because both the standard decks and the expanded decks want DCs in them. So I think this guy works really nicely in both decks. And then the second attack, you just basically add the Darkness Energy. You already have the DC in there, right? Deals 80 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, this attack does 80 more damage. Once again, in Expanded, it combines really well with the lasers. In Standard, we kind of have to do some extra work by playing our Slowbro, but I think it's still cool. And even if you don't intend on using this second attack, I think the first one might be worth it. I'm not sure, actually. I kind of have to think about that. But I actually think this guy is a little bit better in Expanded than it is in Standard. Can you imagine just hitting a laser and just immediately killing your opponent's Pokemon? And this guy also has the fighting weakness instead of the lightning type weakness that Yveltal has. Yeah, I really like this guy. I don't know what you guys think of it. Okay, let's move on. We have Pangoro. This guy sucks, right? Yeah, he sucks. Okay. Another EX, as I mentioned, this set has a million EXs, and it's Scizor EX. One of my friend's favorite Pokemon. We discussed this guy a lot, and it was kind of sad it's not top Pokemon like, I don't know, Manectric is, but I don't think this guy is bad at all. Scizor EX, Steel Wing for a single energy, 20 damage during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks. Nothing to write home about, but it's a nice stepping stone attack in that you're trying to build up this guy up to 2 energy, and if you only have 1 energy, well, you use Steel Wing. Nothing's lost, right? Gale Thirst for the 2 metal energy, you deal 50 damage. If this Pokemon was on your bench and became your active, this attack does 60 more damage, so it can actually deal 110 damage really easily. And with stuff like Float Stones and all that, and the stand-in Pokemon, which is Zoroark. Sorry, I kind of forgot about the name in there. You can do this every single turn. But I think this guy is better if you evolve it into Mega Scizor EX. The Mega Evolution attacks for the same number of energy. Iron Crusher, 120. You may either discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon or discard a Stadium in play. It's nice disruption. It only discards special, which is okay. It's good that it's only special because otherwise it would be just really bonkers. And you can also discard the Stadium. So the amount of damage this guy does is not bad at all. I mean, it's a 2-hit knockout on pretty much anything. So if we compare this guy with another Mega attacker that attacks for 2 energy, like Manectric. Manectric is better just because you're charging up the energy, but this guy has better support. So I don't know. Manectric is kind of it kind of works with itself. You don't really need anything else in the deck. This guy kind of needs the Bronzongs, but because you're playing Bronzongs, you're also playing other types of Pokemon like the Aegislash and stuff like that the Manectric players generally aren't able to use. So I do think Mega Scizor EX is decent. I'm not saying it's going to be a tier 1 deck. I don't think it is. But I do see some play out of it. I do think it's a very cool deck. Being able to attack for just a couple of energy. Especially metal energy, which are so easy to charge up. Really like that thing. Really think this is worth it. Let's move this thing around for a little bit. Okay. Pharaoh Seed. Once during your opponent's next turn, if an attack does 60 or less damage to this Pokemon, prevent that damage. Yeah, that's not great. And this guy is... Oh, I kind of jumped over Mewile. We'll get that. Ferrothorn, 10 damage to your opponent's... No. This is not great. Okay, Mewile... If only Snapping Bite was 60 damage, I think this guy would actually see play. Because I've been dying for a metal type Pokemon that attacks for colorless energy, and it's not an EX. You know why? Because in a lot of decks we need a Regice counter, and especially one that attacks for with DCE. And this guy, wouldn't be only a DCE; it would have to be a DCE and something else. but the ability to just knock out the Regice in a single hit would be bonkers. Of course, the Regice would also kill the Mawile in a single hit, but I think some decks would have use for this guy, and at 50 damage, we can just forget about that. I don't think that's going to happen anytime. So we move on. These fairy types are not great, if I remember correctly. I've seen them. And then we have Togekiss EX. Once again, another EX. There's a million EXs in this set. Anything in the set that is perfect as a tank type card. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to that. Maybe in the end we can look back and see if there's anything like that. Togekiss EX. Wind of Power. 20 damage. You may attach an energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So it accelerates energy, but it's worse than Geomancy because it's accelerating from your hand, not from the deck. And accelerating from the deck is just way better. So I'd rather go with a non-EX, actually faster accelerator. Hurricane Wind, 50 damage, flip 4 coins. Time you deal damage times the number of heads. No, guys, don't play Togekiss. This guy sucks. You're averaging about 100 damage, a little bit more with 3 coin, and it can attack with DCs, but I don't think that's what you want out of a fairy type. I don't think this guy is any good. Aromatisse, 20 damage, your opponent is an EX, this attack does 40 more damage, that's not great. Fairy Wind is also not great. Then the Spritzy is not replacing the Spritzy that people are already playing, because the sets are pretty much the same. Dragalge, bad poison. The defending Pokemon is now poisoned, put 4 damage counter. So if we have the Burbank City Gym in play, this attack does 60 damage and it doesn't hit for weakness or anything because it's poison damage and not anything else. So don't think that's great. And then Dragon Ball, 60 damage, discard the top card of your deck. Also not great. Yeah, I don't think this Dragalge is any thing to write home about. Rattata, I actually like this Rattata a lot. I mean, obviously we're playing it. No, PG, sorry, I'm interrupting myself because I saw your question. I wasn't born in the US. I was born and raised in Portugal, and it's where I live right now. So, Rattata, I really like Rattata. As I was saying, in the Raticate break deck, and we'll get to Raticate break in just a little second. This guy, Danger Sense, draws a card, and then you switch Rattata with one of your bench Pokemon. So imagine that you are playing the Raticate deck, as I mentioned, and you start off with a Rattata. You can actually play something like a Shaymin, stuff like that, into your bench, and then you play the energy on Rattata, you draw a card, you're playing the energy on your Pokemon that you want to evolve, and you attack, draw a card, and immediately switch it back into your bench so that you can protect it a little bit better. So as far as basic Pokemon that are just in your deck for the evolution, I think Rattata is as good as they get. I mean, better than Rattata, I think the only thing, maybe the Phantom that immediately gets the evolution and you put it on it. But yeah, I think this is as good as this basic Pokemon that are only useful for evolutions go. Raticate evolves from Rattata. Ability, Antibodies. This is actually a very good ability. This Pokemon can't be affected by any special conditions, and you heal any special conditions on this Pokemon. Dirty Shock. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Discard any Pokemon tools attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. The part where you discard the tools is kind of weird, but maybe it's good against Mega decks. And then your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. That combines really nicely with a Raticate break. Hopefully, if you're playing this deck, you have another way to put your opponent to poison your opponent, like Ariados, the obvious choice. And then you just evolve your Raticate into the Raticate break. And this is one of those cases where actually you want to go through the middle one. You actually want to have the Raticate in there. And, I mean, if we could rare Candy into the break, maybe we would, but we would lose on the ability Antibodies. Or antibodies, and that's not something that I think we do want, because if we're playing Ariados, we're protecting our Raticate from the poison while poisoning our opponent, and then we use the Super Fang. You put damage counters in your opponent's active Pokemon until its remaining HP is 10, and they are dead from poison damage. So that's definitely a deck that I'm going to be building in my channel. And finally, another break that's at least a very good build around me card. Finally, a good break, right? Yeah, Raticate can... Oh, you do love Portugal, okay. Raticate can poison the Pokemon's... the opponent's Pokemon himself, but it's an attack, right? You want to do this with a DCE, and you bring Raticate into the active position, and you immediately attack with it and kill the opponent's Pokemon. You don't want to give him a turn where you can just attack your Raticate and kill it. So I think you're going to be playing Ariados in that deck. I mean, why wouldn't you? Dunsparce. This is not a good Dunsparce. It actually has a retreat cost. Ugh. Nope. No thank you. Stantler. Flip a coin if adds your opponent's Pokemon is confused, blah blah blah. Stack 50 damage if you have a Mega Evolution on your bench. This is not a great Pokemon. And then EX. Cleansing Flame. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon has any basic fire energy attached to it, you may heal 50 damage from this Pokemon. Wow, that's a lot of damage, but then the attack costs 3 different types of energy and none of them is fire. Oh man. You need 4 different types of energy on this guy to be able to use it to the full extent. Elemental Feather is a lot of damage, 130 and 30 to the bench, but I don't think this guy is good. I mean, 4 different types of energy, that's just super hard to charge up. It's just too much work for, I don't know, not that great of a Pokemon, actually. I do like one thing about this guy is that they kept the fighting resistance, which is the bird thing, but they kept the fire type weakness. I'd actually like to see more Pokemon like this where they mix up the two. I think that's better. 2 and a rainbow. I mean, the fire energy has to be basic, so this guy doesn't really work well with the rainbow energy. It does for the attack, but anyway you paint it, even if you have you need to have 3 energy to attack, right? So even if some of them are rainbow, none of them are replacing the basic fire that you need to heal the damage, so it doesn't really work. With Smeargle, I don't know, man, it's still 4 energy, right? Or at least, because, so here's the thing, you can only use Smeargle once a turn unless you have 2 Smeargles. So you have the fire energy in there, you heal the damage, you take the fire and place the lightning and you attack, and then next turn you don't have the fire anymore, so if you bring the fire back you can't attack, you know what I mean? Unless you have 2 Smeargles so that you can switch twice, it doesn't work. So I don't see this guy at all seeing play. One off in Aromatisse. I just think the deck has better stuff, has better Pokemon. If you're on a budget and, I don't know, you open the pack and one EX was there, by all means play it. But if you're building a competitive deck, I don't think this is what you're looking for. It doesn't hit for weakness on anything because it's a colorless type. I don't know. Glameow. Your opponent chooses the card from his hand, returns to the bottom of his deck. That's a really annoying basic Pokemon. Attacks for colorless energy, so once again I see this guy being played a lot in the pre-release. Definitely going to have all the Glameows that I can take. And Purugly is actually also pretty good. Slash 30 damage, press 40 damage, flip a coin if adds this attack does 80 more damage. If tails, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. The fact that it's a flippy attack, it's bad, but at the same time you get a good effect on both of the flips, so I kind of like this type of stuff. And it attacks for colorless energy, so it's good in the pre-release, as I mentioned. Don't build your competitive decks with these guys though. Furfro, oh, very weird drawing. From distance it seemed like a Raticate. Fetch, draw a card, also really good in the pre-release, drawing cards. And 30 damage, flip a coin if adds a defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. It's a little bit worse, but it's still a basic, so yeah, definitely going to play this guy if I see it. Okay, goodbye, man. And All Night Party, we finally get to the stadium that we talked about. Once during each player's turn, that player may remove the special condition asleep from his or her Pokemon. That player does heal 30 damage from that Pokemon. Yeah, this works really nicely with Hypno and Darkrai. Because with Darkrai, we don't really care if the opponent stays asleep. We just care that it's asleep when we attack. So we heal the sleep from our guy. Then we just, bam, hit for 180 damage, hopefully. and the opponent just gets knocked out, which is worse than being asleep, so it doesn't really get to heal off the damage at all. Another thing that I love about this card is that it has Umbreon, and I love Umbreon. It's my favorite Pokemon. And then there's a Umbreon card in here as well, which we are not seeing in this set. I just want it for my collection. I don't really plan on playing it because, if I remember correctly, I think it kind of sucks. Burst Balloon is an interesting trainer. It's kind of like that Ace Spec, the rock card, because your opponent attacks you and he takes 60 damage. But the thing about this card is that you have to discard it at the end of your opponent's turn. So you lose the item if the opponent doesn't attack. Maybe this is good. Like I was going to say, could be a good deck against like something like a Seismitoad deck, but that doesn't really work, because if a Seismitoad is attacking you, you're item locked, so you can't play the Burst Balloon at all. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely something that you play in your deck where you wanna. Oh, maybe. Well, let me think about it. Is this a Night March tech against Night March? I mean, you play this in your deck, you knock out their attacker, and then if they attack you, they immediately get knocked out. So you're actually trading. Even if they kill an EX, you're actually trading 2 for 2 in terms of prizes. That sounds nice. The bad thing about it is that Lysander is a thing. So if the Night March player actually gets to Lysander something, I mean, if you're pressuring them as far as card draw or energies go, they might have to dig for energy and not be able to play the Lysander as the supporter for the turn. So you can actually trade well with prizes as far as using Burst Balloon. But I don't know. I think Lysander just goes around this card, and that's not great. But yeah, maybe there's a way that we can use this as attack against Night March. Delinquent, the first supporter that we see here. Discard a stadium card in play if you do. Your opponent chooses 3 cards from his or her hand and discards them. That's... I don't know what to think about this card. I think it might be good. I mean, discard this card, Stadium, so you kind of have to have a Stadium in play, so you might want to play this in decks where you have Stadiums, because sometimes you might need to make your opponent discard, and you can't do that if you don't have Stadiums. So maybe just play Stadiums there so that you discard them. Your opponent chooses the cards that they discard, but at the same time, it's 3 cards, so I can definitely see situations where this just wrecks your opponent totally out of nowhere. So maybe as a one-off, I don't really see people playing a lot of these guys. But yeah, I think it might see some play. I don't really see it as being totally bonkers, but maybe as a one-off just to disrupt your opponent. I see this guy being played. Fighting Fury Belt, one of the best cards in the set, I think. So it's a Pokemon tool, and you basically attach it to basic Pokemon, because you can attach it to any Pokemon that you want, but it reads: the basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets its max HP increased by 40, and its attacks to 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's half of a muscle band, but at the same time it increases your HP in 40, and that's a lot of HP for a tool, at least. I really like this thing. I think it has a lot of uses. A lot of, I don't know, I'm just picturing an Yveltal deck. Every time we're talking about basics, just picturing an Yveltal deck that your opponent couldn't knock in a single hit, and it's just in trouble because you're going to protect your energy, move them around with Y-Cyclone and knock them out, and it's going to be awesome. So yeah, I definitely see Fighting Fury Belt seeing play in a lot of decks, actually. So definitely looking forward to play this card. Great Ball, okay, it's a reprint, I guess. Max Elixir, another one of the best cards of the set, I think. It has some constraints, but let's look into it. So look at the top 6 cards of your deck, in which choose a basic energy card you find there and attach it to one of your basic benched Pokemon. So all the Pokemon, the energy has to be basic, the Pokemon has to be basic, and it has to be benched. Otherwise, I think this card is totally bonkers, and here's why. So if you think about the numbers, your deck has 60 cards. Usually 10 of them are basic or energy, and that means 10% of your deck is energy, and you already have some cards in your hand, like 7 or 8, so you've gone even further into your deck. You dug into even further when you play the Max Elixir. So you're in those 6 cards that you're drawing. I think you're bound to find an energy most of the times that you play the Max Elixir. And can you imagine playing this in the Palkia deck that we talked about when we went through the water Pokemon? Like, you play the energy on Palkia, you use this thing, and you play the second energy, and then you can just retreat from your active Pokemon if you have a water energy in there with a mana fee. You attack with Palkia and you charge up your water energy. And that deck really wants to play a lot of water energy because it's kind of like the Genesect deck, the Virizion Genesect, which played 14 energy. So if you're playing 14 water energy, you're even more likely to hit with the Max Elixir. So I think this card is just pretty good. Really, really good, actually. Definitely going to be playing this thing. It kind of makes us play less special energy, but at the same time, it's just super good. We can pair Max Elixir with Ho-Oh. Which Ho-Oh? The Ho-Oh EX that we just saw? I don't know. I still don't think I still don't think Ho-Oh is great. When we evaluate cards, I might do a video on that someday. The first thing on my mind is the TMI or the TMW, which is too much work. Too much work has to be the guiding principle behind all the card evaluations that we make. If you're doing something, if you're going through your resources, if you're spending cards to do something that other deck can do with less cards, you're going to be losing against that deck. That's just how the game works. That's just how life is. So I don't know. That's why I don't like Ho-Oh. It's not just that it needs 3 types of energy or 4. It's just that after you do get those types of energy, you don't immediately kill your opponent's Pokemon, for example. You just deal 130, and that's not a knockout, you know. Max Potion, yeah. Max Potion, Meridian. We are getting Max Potion back. I'm really excited about it. This is a very good card. If you guys don't have it, I have, of course, my playset of Max Potion from back in the day. Or not that long ago, actually. Because Fairies was my first deck on paper. And I really like Aromatisse. It's also funny that we're getting this in the same set as Golduck Break. So it kind of feels like they are really pushing the Golduck Break deck. But yeah, I think this is going to see play more easily in Aromatisse decks than it is in Golduck Break decks. Just going to be playing our Fairy types and our Gardevoirs and moving the damage around. So maybe we see Gardevoir coming back with a vengeance. And we can play all the Max Potions that we want because there's not a lot of item lock right now. I mean, there's that annoying Vespiquen with Vileplume, but other than that, there's not a lot of Seismitoad decks being played. And actually, when there was Seismitoad, I think Gardevoir had a very good matchup against that, just because we accelerated a lot of energy with the Xerneas with Geomancy. So definitely cool to have Max Potion back. Really like that card. Mrs. Determination. You discard a card from your hand, then look at the top 8 cards of your deck, choose one and put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. I don't think this card is very good, unfortunately, because you have to discard from your hand. You look at the top 8 cards of your deck, you choose one and you put it into your hand, so you can choose any type of card. You can choose an energy, you can choose a Pokemon, you can choose a trainer card, but if you're looking for trainer cards, Scal is just straight up better, and you're still discarding cards from your hand to look for something else. So I don't know if you want to play this supporter. Maybe there's some sort of deck that really wants this. I never say never, because even Steven, which looked like the worst card ever, saw play in the Groudon EX deck, and it was actually pretty good in that deck. So I don't know. Maybe Misty's Determination sees some play. I definitely like it. I like Misty, so I don't know. Pokemon Catcher, it's back. It was already in the format, but this means it's not rotating out after the next rotation, which probably is going to cut us through Roaring Skies or something like that. So yeah, Pokemon Catcher, we see this card again. Actually, is this like the first Pokemon Catcher that actually says that you have to flip to use this effect? Might be. I think the errata was after the last printing of this card. I'm not sure. That's cool. Professor Sycamore again, okay. If you guys don't have it, it's a nice way to get them. But more importantly, there's going to be people that have this card in the pre-release, and most of the people are not going to have it, which is kind of unfair. Psychic's Mind Reading. Your opponent reveals his or her hand. You discard as many cards from your hand as you like, then draw them many cards. This is an interesting card. There's been a lot of times where I just wish I had the ability to the supporter to discard X cards from my hand and draw the same amount. In decks that you don't really want to discard cards, this is a decent effect to have, and you also look at your opponent's hand as a nice bonus. But I don't know if this card is... I definitely not going to be played in a lot of decks, but maybe there's a deck that really needs it, so maybe it can see some play. Yeah, this site is Pokebitch. Awesome site. Definitely urge you guys to check it out when you can. They have the most recent news and all the best translations actually for the spoiled cards, so really one of the best sets. I go to Pokebitch pretty much every day. I'm not associated with them at all. I'm just plugging them in because they do such a nice work. That's just love them. Okay, Puzzle of Time. It's a trainer card, and actually another very strong card. Once again, I don't know if this is a rare or just a... I hope it's... Okay, let's check if it's a rare. Sorry about this. I'm going to the top of the page and checking here if the... Okay, let's see. It's an uncommon. I don't think there's any rare trainer cards. Doesn't look like it. Nice. No rare trainer cards. That's cool. So the puzzle is indeed uncommon, and as I mentioned, the uncommons are kind of like the best cards. Even Max Potion is uncommon. Okay, that's cool. So this card is just bonkers. If you don't know what it does, if you play one, you look at top 3 cards of your deck and put them back on top of your deck in any order you like. That's not great, right? But if you have 2 time puzzles in your hand, you can play them at the same time, and you choose 2 cards from your discard pile, you show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. I'm laughing because this is kind of insane. I mean, just getting 2 cards from your discard pile back into your hand, this is really good. Managing resources is really important in Pokemon, and this card just... Oh man, this is just an insane card. I'm not able to open it right now. I don't know what's happening, but I think it's a really good card. Definitely going to be happy to play it. And it looks exactly like a Spirit Link. Yeah, it does. That's kind of funny, but it's way better than a Spirit Link. I mean, they do different things, but Puzzle of Time seems really nice. Reverse Valley. This is an interesting stadium, but I don't know. Okay, so blue side, so if you choose the blue side to face you, your metal Pokemon take 10 less damage. If you choose the red side, your darkness Pokemon do 10 more damage. So this is an interesting stadium, two-way stadium. We kind of saw the Parallel City in the previous set, and Parallel City was like the perfect two-way stadium because actually both modes were decent. So for the same, I'm kind of confused with what I was saying. So if you're playing it in your deck, you might want to play different sides on yourself. So for example, I played it with Manectric Bats, and sometimes I chose the red side and sometimes I chose the blue side to face myself, you know. So it actually has a lot more flexibility. This thing, you're going to always play it facing the same side, I think, in your decks, unless you're playing like Zoroark in a metal deck and you really want to deal 10 extra damage. But I think there's better stadiums like the Skyfield in those decks. So this the kind of stadium that you're only playing it on one direction, so to speak. You're not going to be playing... If you're playing a darkness deck, you're always going to be playing the red side facing you, and if you're playing the metal deck, you're always going to be playing the blue side facing you. And I actually think the red side is way better. I think it's way better to deal damage than to take less damage. Maybe there's some calculations that I'm missing, and the 10 less damage that this thing makes the metal Pokemon take is crucial. But I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for the metal decks, and maybe it is for the. I have to be honest. I did not do any math, so I don't know if this is going to be good or not. But I see the red side being better just because dealing damage is way better most of the times. Yeah, I don't like it either too much. For the reasons I mentioned, I'd love to see they came up with this mechanic, and I think it's really interesting. You can choose the side of the stadium, but they just made this stadium that you always play the same side facing you on each deck that you play this, and that's kind of I would like to see another one like Parallel City, where each game and each game situation makes you want to play the stadium a different way. That's just more interesting in my opinion. Scizor Spirit Link, of course. Tierno, we're getting Tierno back, okay. And then Splash Energy, and that's the last card of the set. Splash Energy is the special water energy, and what it does is if the Pokemon that this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attack, you return all Pokemon cards to the owner's hand instead of discarding them. Maybe this is good in the Greninja deck, but other than that I don't really see it. Plus you can't discard it, so in the Greninja deck I think you're maybe better off playing only basics. In the Palkia deck I think it's the same. Don't really need to bring the Pokemon back to your hand. I don't think that's anything to be worried about, so I don't think Splash Energy is good. I think it's actually one of the worst of this type of energy that we've seen so far. Yeah, I think it's actually the worst. Maybe worse than Herbal Energy. Even Herbal Energy saw some play in niche decks. I don't really see what this is going to be played with. But yeah, I don't know. And then we have the full art beauties. Mega Rayquaza EX? What? You mean the Mega Rayquaza EX? What? The Splash Energy? You're not talking about the Splash Energy for sure, because this doesn't work with Pokemon that are not water types, so I don't know what you're talking about. Meridian, please explain yourself. Yeah, there's a lot of, as I mentioned, there's a lot of EXs. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and if we're counting the special secret rare ones, it's actually 17, because it's 8 times 2 plus this shiny Gyarados. So that's a lot of EX Pokemon. That's at the same time that's not great, because we're going to be getting a lot of different EXs. So we're not getting maybe if we, for example, if we just want the Darkrai, we're going to be opening a lot of packs that have Gyarados in them, and we don't really want them. I guess now that I think of it, the previous set also had a lot of EXs, just because it had like a million Mewtwo's, million different Mewtwo's. It had the Mewtwo, so it was like 2 different Mewtwo's plus 2 different Megas plus secret rare for each of the Mewtwo's and a full art, and the full art for each Mega, so there's 10 Mewtwo's plus the Gallade, or the Glalie, sorry, plus the Mega Glalie, plus the full arts, plus the Houndoom, plus the full arts. Yeah, the previous set also had a lot of EXs, but this one just seems like it has more, because the other set had like a million Mewtwo's that basically did the same thing. And here we have more variety. We don't get a Palkia, basically because Palkia is like it's being printed, and it was originally printed in a promo set in Japan, so it doesn't have the full art, but the rest of them are just, I mean, this Darkrai seems pretty cute. Look at it. It's really cute Pokemon. I'm not a huge fan of full arts as far as Pokemon go, but I do like the trainers. And there's the Skyla, the sexy Skyla, and although this is really inappropriate because this is like a child, so I'm not a huge fan of the anime stuff where they just make like fan service, and it's really creepy because they're kids basically. So Japan, what can you do, right? Yeah, there's a lot of, oh yeah, so I miscounted because there's no Palkia, no Togekiss, and no Emboar, so there's even more EXs, so there's like 11 if I count, or no, I was at 8, 16, 17, 21, 20, 21 maybe, something. Yeah, and there's also the breaks, which I think the only good one that was the Raticate, or the half good at least. I'm not saying it's bonkers. So yeah, there's a lot of good cards in the set. A lot of cards, especially the items. I think buying a box is only worth it, I think, in the sets where the uncommons are good. And this is one of them. Just because you can't be sure about what rares you're going to get, but the uncommons are, I think, the meat of when you open a box. So I think in terms of expected value, I think this set might be a little bit better, just because there's so many good uncommons. And yeah, I'm really happy with this set. I can't wait to be playing with the fighting Fury Belt, and with the Max Elixir, and with the Puzzle of Time and the Max Potion, but I already have those. So as far as the items go, I think this set is really good, and it even has some good EXs. What I think it lacks is the non-EX Pokemon, because most of them are garbage. I mean, there's the Hypno, there's the Trevenant, and the Phantom. And I guess there's the Garchomp that we really like. There's also the Shiftry, which was interesting. And I think that's it, right? I'm not missing anything with a summary. What do we think the meta is going to be? I don't really know. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be... Oh yeah, I forgot about the Garbodor. Yeah, Garbodor is definitely going to be seeing play. Especially with Floatstone. This guy is bonkers. Yeah, there's a lot of good cards in the set, actually. Yeah, definitely worth buying a box, I think. And I'm a guy that always buys singles, because I get more of my money's worth. But I know a lot of you guys like to open packs. And if you're going to buy a box, I think this is one of the best sets to do it. So, what are you guys saying? Old full art Scala gets higher in value. Yeah, I guess so. Upload one of them. I remember there was an old card with Grammar looking up a girl's skirt. Yeah, man, the Japanese stuff is kind of weird. They have... We call it weird, but culturally it's different, so we kind of have to... I don't know. The more and more time passes, the more globalization makes it so that we're culturally more alike. The countries are culturally more alike, and the weird stuff there starts getting the stuff that we find weird also starts being weird for Japanese people, if that makes sense. So Raticate with Ariados, yeah, that seems like a fun deck to be playing. Garchomp, yeah, definitely. Also seems to be a very good card. Toad Garb, yeah, definitely going to see that. And I think that's the set, guys. Don't really have anything else to say. This was 1 hour and a half. I think I'm going to have the time indicator just so that people can skip to the start of the analysis. But this was really loose. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be great for people that weren't following the stream to be watching, but I don't know. I had a lot of fun talking with you guys, and I hope to do this again when the next set comes out. I think this is a better way to do the set reviews. I don't know if people actually watch my videos when I do the set reviews. I have a feeling that I just go through like recording 1 hour videos, and they don't get a lot of views because people don't really care, and it's kind of boring to watch someone talking about every single or almost every single card in the set. I don't know. Tell me what you think about that. If there's more interest in proper set review videos, I'll do them again. But if not, I think I'll still do the streams. Okay, sorry about that. Where are you, Abra? Whoops. Yeah, I like streams as well. I mean, I like talking to you guys. And I always find out stuff that I hadn't found out when I was looking at the set. Like, for example, today I learned that Slowking was a stage 1. You're always learning, right? I really thought this guy was a stage 2. I thought we were building it on top of the Slowbro, you know? And definitely worth it now that I know that it's a stage 1. I think this is a very annoying ability. Definitely. Has to be from the active, but because there are so many shamans, we're just moving the energy around. Oh, Pakistan. Ugh. Jesus Christ, man. You're still awake? Yeah, stage 2 Slowking. It was really dumb on my part. It's nice to know that I'm streaming and there's someone in Pakistan following. That's really cool. Really like that. Cheers to Pakistan. Actually, I work in my daily job. I do iOS apps, and one of the apps that we do is for Pakistan. So that's cool. Okay, I'm going to close this. I think this was enough. This is already really long. Don't really know what else to say, so much love, guys, and I guess I'll see you next video or something. I'll try to record something this weekend. I can't promise anything because all the time that I have has been put onto testing because there's the ECC coming. So yeah, you want the Luxray to be good, but it's kind of like the worst break ever, to be honest. I'm really annoyed by that, actually. It's definitely the worst break that I've seen. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm going to close, guys. Bye. See you.